Welcome to Fun Facts Daily, your source for just the good stuff. Monday through Friday, we're bringing fun facts and news you can use, all carefully curated to uplift and inform. So give yourself a break, relax, and learn something awesome in just a few minutes every day. Hi everyone, I'm Kyle Wood. Happy Festivus and get the pole out of the crawl space because today we're learning all about the iconic 90s sitcom Seinfeld. But before we get into the facts, let's warm up our brains with a little challenge to see if you can tell fact from fiction. Consider this. If you look closely at Jerry's apartment throughout the series, you'll often see a small statue of Superman on the bookshelf. This has led to one of the most famous legends in television history, that a reference to Superman, whether it's a figurine, a poster, or a mention in dialogue, appears in every single one of the 180 episodes of the series. What do you think? Is this an actual fact? Did writers hide a super Easter egg in every episode? Or is this just too good to be true? We'll find out at the end of the episode. Now for your word of the day. Our word for today is lexicon. That's Lexicon. A lexicon is essentially the vocabulary of a person, language, or branch of knowledge. In linguistics, it refers to the complete set of meaningful units in a language. Think of it as a mental dictionary that contains all the words and phrases you know. While every person has their own personal lexicon, entire cultures can share a specialized lexicon born from popular media or shared experiences. Our word lexicon traces back to the ancient Greek word, lexicon, although that's often spelled Lexikon. Still, it means a book of words. It's rooted in lexis, which means word or speech. Seinfeld is famous for creating its own cultural lexicon, a massive collection of phrases like double dipping and close talker that either didn't exist or weren't in common usage before the show. These words became so embedded in our daily speech that they actually changed the way an entire generation of English speakers communicates, eventually landing some of these terms in the actual Oxford English Dictionary. Time for your daily high five, our top 5 fun facts about Seinfeld. Number 1. The show's famous nothing premise was actually a clever subversion of traditional Aristotelian storytelling. Most sitcoms of the 1980s followed a strict lesson of the week format where characters grow, change, and learn to be better people. Seinfeld creators Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld famously instituted a no hugging, no learning rule to keep the characters consistently selfish and neurotic. This approach actually mirrors the philosophy of nihilism, the idea that life lacks an intrinsic map or grand purpose, but it used it for comedic effect by focusing on the minute, trivial frustrations of daily life. By stripping away the sentimental moments found in other shows, Seinfeld focused on observational humor that resonated with the human experience. Instead of a grand plot, episodes centered around waiting for a table at a Chinese restaurant or losing a car in a parking garage. This shifted the cultural landscape of television, proving that audiences were more interested in relatable, everyday nothing than in forced moralistic something. Number 2. The character of Cosmo Kramer was based on a real person who eventually started a Kramer reality tour in New York City. Larry David's real-life neighbor, Kenny Kramer, was the inspiration for the eccentric, door-sliding character played by Michael Richards. The real Kramer was a struggling comedian and entrepreneur who lived across the hall from David in Manhattan. Just like the TV version, the real Kenny was known for borrowing food and coming up with bizarre get-rich-quick schemes that rarely panned out in the way he expected. Because the show became such a massive hit, the real Kenny Kramer decided to capitalize on his newfound proximity to fame. He started a bus tour in New York where he would take fans to the various landmarks mentioned in the show, like the original Monk's Diner. This created a fascinating cultural loop where a real person inspired a fictional character, who then inspired a real person to perform a version of that character for the public. And just to keep all the surreal levels of absurdity going, they had Kramer, the character, do a similar version with his real Peterman tour on the show. Number 3. Festivus, the holiday for the rest of us, was a real family tradition long before it appeared on the small screen. It was actually a real holiday celebrated by the family of writer Dan O'Keefe since the 1960s. His father created it as a way to celebrate without the commercialism or religious pressures of December holidays. In the show, the holiday features a plain aluminum pole, the airing of grievances, and feats of strength, all of which were inspired by the O'Keefe family's eccentric real-life traditions. Since the episode first aired in 1997, Festivus has exploded into a genuine cultural phenomenon celebrated by people all over the world every December 23rd. You can actually buy official Festivus poles at some retailers, and people frequently use social media to participate in their own virtual airing of grievances. It's just another example of how the show about nothing has actually done quite a bit to change the cultural landscape. Number 4. The show's iconic, jazzy, bass-heavy theme music is actually unique and recomposed for every single episode. The show's composer, Jonathan Wolff, faced a major challenge because Jerry Seinfeld performed stand-up comedy sets at the beginning of every episode, at least in the early seasons. But whether it was a stand-up set or another cold open, the timing was different in every episode. Wolff couldn't use a static theme song because the music might clash and get out of time with the rhythm of Jerry's jokes and the audience's laughter. To solve this, Wolff actually sat down and timed the bass hits to the specific cadence of every cold open for all 180 episodes. This makes Seinfeld one of the few shows in history where the theme music was dynamically created in the editing process rather than just a pre-recorded track. It was certainly quite a bit of extra work, but well worth it because it made the transitions between the cold open and the rest of the show much more seamless, and it gave the show this rhythmic signature that's instantly recognizable within just one or two notes. And our 5th and final fun fact for today: Jerry Seinfeld reportedly walked away from a record-breaking $110 million offer to produce just one more season of the show. It's hard to believe that any sitcom would be offered so much money for just one season. It's especially hard to believe when you consider the pilot episode of Seinfeld, then called The Seinfeld Chronicles, was shown to a test audience in 1989 with disastrous results. I mean, it was almost canceled because of its weak performance with viewers who complained the characters were unlikable and no segment of the audience was eager to watch the show again. Thankfully, one brave executive named Rick Ludwin believed in the project so much he actually canceled another television special to divert the budget and fund 4 more episodes. The show found its footing and found an audience and grew to be one of the biggest hits in NBC's must-see TV lineup. In order to hold on to their massive audience, NBC tried to convince Jerry to return for 10th season. The network reportedly offered him $5 million per episode. That would have made Jerry the highest paid actor in the history of television by a massive margin, even eclipsing the salaries of many modern movie stars. But Jerry turned it down, choosing instead to end the show while it was still at its peak. He compared the decision to the way some athletes often stay one season too long and lose their edge. He wanted to go out on a high and maintain the show's legacy. And it seems to have been a good decision because when the finale aired on May 14th, 1998, it still had a massive following. It's estimated that 76 million people tuned in to watch that final episode when it first aired. That means that more than 60% of all Americans with a television set at that time were tuning in for one last laugh at the show about nothing. Now for some news you can use. The show Seinfeld proved that focusing on the little things can actually have a big impact. So today, I want to focus on sort of micro-mindfulness and social curiosity. While Seinfeld focused on the funny frustrations of daily life, it also reminds us that most of our existence happens in those quiet little moments between the big events that get the most attention. We spend most of our days in coffee shop lines, the commutes, brief chats with neighbors. Scientists who study a concept called savoring have found that people who take just 30 seconds to truly appreciate a small, mundane detail, like the aroma of a fresh coffee or a cool breeze, report significantly higher levels of long-term life satisfaction. This works because of neuroplasticity. Now, neuroplasticity is the way that our brains can effectively rewire and create new connections. The whole idea here is that by intentionally noticing those nothing moments, you're actually rewiring your brain to scan for the positive instead of the negative. And over the long haul, that's going to leave you much happier and more satisfied in your life. Now, beyond just noticing your surroundings, you can also boost your mood by adopting a bit of Kramer-style social curiosity. The character of Kramer was famous for being eccentric, but he was also willing to engage with anyone and everyone, and that's an approach that's backed by modern psychology. Research from the University of Chicago suggests that weak-tie social interactions, brief, friendly exchanges with strangers or acquaintances, provide a measurable boost to our sense of belonging and happiness. Whether it's a quick joke with the mail carrier or asking your barista how their morning's going, these small, nothing interactions can actually strengthen our community ties. Now for the moment you've been waiting for. At the beginning of the episode, I asked if it's true that a Superman reference appears in every single episode of Seinfeld. Well, this one's actually a fallacy. While it's one of the most widely repeated trivia bits about the show, it isn't quite true. It is a fact that Jerry Seinfeld is a massive Superman fan, and there are many references to the hero throughout the series, but they're not in every episode. Jerry himself has confirmed this in an interview, saying the every episode claim is a myth, although he noted that the production team did try to hide the character in the background whenever possible. If you don't believe me, you can find Superman-free episodes usually in the earlier seasons. Check out episodes like The Pony Remark or the famous bottle episode The Chinese Restaurant. In these episodes, as well as many others in the first couple seasons, there's no Superman to be found on the shelves or in the script. It wasn't until later in the series that the habit of including the superhero became a more frequent gag for set decorators. Now, I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about Seinfeld with me today, and be sure to tune in every weekday for even more fun facts. Fun Facts Daily is an Airwave Media podcast. It was written, recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Kyle Wood. Thanks for sharing a part of your day with me. Be sure to follow Fun Facts Daily on your favorite podcast app so you can keep the good stuff coming your way every day. And if you like the show, please do me a favor and leave a kind rating, review, or just tell your friends about it.